Hi everybody, it's Mr. Stewart here with an assignment video for week 2 of the animation course level 1, and this one is using Maya 2025. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is start up Maya here. Now Maya 2025 is in this new generation of Maya where it starts kind of and loads everything up, and it takes you to this home screen on startup. Now, I don't really love the home screen. You can keep it here, but you can uncheck this and then hit go to Maya. And then the next time when you open this up, it's just a little bit easier to go directly to Maya. It takes a little bit of time to load, but it takes you directly to the user interface right here. Now, here you'll see kind of the default setup for Maya. Now, there's lots of different things that Maya can do. In fact, I've worked in Maya for over 20 years, and there are things in Maya I have never actually even tried before. This is a very, very deep program. And so the first thing I usually tell students to do is take a nice deep breath and relax. It is not a program you can just sort of willy-nilly click around and figure out in an afternoon. It's going to take a while to get used to the interface, get used to the program, and that's fine. You really are in no rush. What we're going to concentrate on are going to be specifically the animation controls and menus that you need to be able to do animation assignments and animations in Maya. Now, that doesn't mean you can't play around with some other things if you'd like, but that's not what we're going to concentrate on. We're going to concentrate on the animation controls. So, but things like modeling, rigging, particles, those are not going to be things that we cover, certainly not in this video, but even really in the course. I'm going to provide you, as the animation assignments get more advanced, I'm going to provide you with the resources, the tools, the rigs that you need. Now, we'll start off with kind of a tour of the interface and of all the different things that I think that are useful to know right up front. Now, you may be using a different version of Maya. There are always some little changes here or there, but for the most part, for a good probably 5 to 10 years, Maya, the menus are mostly the same. So even if you're using a different version than Maya 2025, you should be able to kind of navigate and use this and find your way around. The first thing I'll talk about is the workspace. Now, there's all sorts of different workspace sets here that you can use. You can go to the animation set, which is going to give you some different other options. UV editing is going to give you other options. You can play around with this. You can also create custom versions and save those. I generally am going to stick with the general setting. One thing I do like to do, though, is pull out the outliner from the side here, and you can just grab on that tab and pull it over. And I usually put it over here in this tab so that I can access this and the other windows here, the attribute editor, channel box, and we'll talk about some of these later. But this gives me a little bit bigger viewport to look at and allows me to see my animation a little bit more clearly. Now, if you want, you can save current workspace as a new workspace. It will save that general setting if I make an adjustment to it, unless I want to reset it, and I can reset it by hitting this reset current workspace. Now, the next thing I'll talk about is toggling through viewports. Right now, you can see that there's a single perspective camera. That's what we're looking through right now, is looking through a virtual camera. And if you put your mouse kind of in somewhere over the viewport here, and you quickly hit your space bar, you will see that now I have 4 different cameras that I can look through. And they're listed here: top, perspective, side, and front. Now, I can customize these by creating new cameras. I can customize these by putting in new panels. I can go over here and customize if I want to hit this button. You can see it goes back to that default 4. If I right click right here, I can change this to 3 panes split top, which would give me a long one here. So there's lots of different things I can do and customize my viewport. But I'm going to keep it kind of default for now. Any one of these cameras, if I want to go into the camera and make it full screen, all I have to do is just quickly hit hold my mouse over the viewport and then quickly hit my spacebar. Now, let me do something here to kind of demonstrate what I mean by cameras. So I'm going to go to Panels, Perspective, and I'm going to create a new perspective camera right here. You can see it's got a new name, Perspective 1. If I want to go over here to the channel box, and if you don't see this over here, then you can click on this little box right here, and that'll bring the channel box. Also, if you click on it on the tab, it'll toggle it on and off. But in this channel box, I can rename the camera, and now it will show up in this window. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move around in this camera, and I'm going to make sure that cameras are on. Right now, by default, everything is on. I could turn off, so it doesn't show anything and only pick certain things, and we'll talk about that maybe in another video or later. I'm going to kind of move around, and I'll show you how that works in just a second. But what you can see here is a camera, and this camera, if I move this camera, you can see as I move this camera, then it is moving the viewport over here. Now, in order to really sort of demonstrate this, I'm going to create some what we call geometry, some polygon geometry. Now, up here are the shelves, and I'm going to create just a few objects. Now, you'll see that this object shows up in every single camera, and make this just a bit bigger here. But it shows up a little bit differently from one viewport or one camera to another. Now, there's a reason for this. So this side or front or top, those are what we call orthographic views. And that means that just from that front or side or top view, we're only going to see in 2 dimensions. And if I want to move this around, I can switch this from front to side, top, etc. Now, these are perspective viewports, and I can move around in 3 dimensions and kind of rotate as if it was real space. Now, just because I'm moving in this perspective view, I'm moving that perspective camera, but it's not moving this new camera. And so I can either move that new camera over here, or I can toggle or scroll or zoom in this camera. So that's the next thing I'll talk about, is how to move around in a particular camera viewport or window. So the first thing I'll bring up is a 3-button mouse. If you don't have a 3-button mouse, then I would advise that you stop and pause the video, go buy a 3-button mouse, and then come back, because it's essential to have a 3-button mouse to really work and use Maya correctly. Now, most mice, I guess, have a scroll wheel in the middle, and that usually will function as a middle mouse button, as a third button. But you need to have a mouse, even if you're working on a Mac, you need to have a 3-button mouse. So I think it's Command on Mac, but on Windows, it is the Alt key. So if you hold the Alt key and then hold down the left mouse button, and you scroll, kind of move your mouse back and forth, you can see that I will spin around. And if I hold my middle mouse button down, you can see that I can move side to side, still while holding that Alt key. And then if I use both my middle and left mouse button, I can zoom in and out. Now this takes a little bit of getting used to, but after you work with this a little bit, you can find that it's very intuitive, and very quickly you can move the camera to where you want to go. So CG animation works very similar to kind of virtual stop motion animation. And you have these virtual objects that you can select and move and rotate and scale. And by doing this and setting keys, then you're able to then move and animate these objects. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is do just a little bit of a tour of the menus and the user interface, kind of give you some things that you will want to know as you move through and begin working in Maya. So the first thing I'll talk about here is the timeline. So you can see here at the bottom that I can click on any frame number and go to that frame, and I can adjust the display of the timeline with this set of windows down below. So I can just click and drag and extend this, and if I want to create more frames, I can just enter that in. So I'll say 500 frames. Now they're not all displayed, but now I have 500 frames that I can scroll this wheel. If I double click on the bar here, it will toggle back and forth between a specific section and the entire set. I can also do the same thing here by say I don't really want any frames before frame 101, and that will then become the end frame for this set. But I can always add and put in more or less frames. Now, the next thing I'll talk about is the frame rate. By default, Maya is set at 24 frames per second, which is right here. And I want you to leave it at 24 frames per second. There's a lot of good reasons why. It doesn't matter if we're doing hand-drawn, CG. By default, film animation runs at 24 frames per second. Most television shows are animated at 24 frames per second. It's been that way since the beginning of animation, and it's still very much the default. So we're going to talk about techniques of how to speed things up or slow things down, not changing that frame rate, keeping that frame rate consistent. So I want you to make sure you keep that frame rate consistent. We're going to talk about that in some other parts of this as well. this video as well. So the next thing I'll talk about are the shelves here. Now you'll see there's lots of different shelves. We're not going to use a ton of these necessarily, but you can kind of play around with these. We will use some of them, specifically this poly modeling, but it's good to know that those are there. Now over here we have our selection tool, we have paint selection tool, some other things, but these three here, the move tool, the rotate tool, and the scale tool, these are super important because this is how we're going to move our objects. Now you can also find these as a hotkey, Q, W, E, R. So if I hit Q, that's select, W is move, E is rotate, and R is scale. This is an easy way to toggle through these very quickly as you begin animating. But you can also access all of these tools right here on the side. Now, occasionally I will see a students accidentally get into what we call component mode. Now, I don't really want you to use component mode, but if you right click on a selected object and go to one of these, you will see that all of a sudden everything's a pink dot. And now I can't make these work. And I can't make anything move around until I start kind of destroying the object. So this is more used for modeling and some other aspects. You'll also maybe see faces or edges or UVs, etc. But what we want is object mode. Object mode is where we animate. So if you ever find that your geometry looks kind of weird, the best thing to do is right click over it and then go to object mode. And if it turns green like this and shows up with move or translate, then that's what we want and where we want to be. Now also occasionally you will find that sometimes you will pull something off like this and you don't exactly know what's going on. It'll feel like it's a window, like the time slider is out here, and occasionally I will see students that will just click everything and hoping that it'll show back up, but it doesn't. And so now they don't know how to change frames. And so what you need to do if that happens is go to Windows UI Elements, which stands for User Interface Elements. And you'll see that both the time slider and the range slider are unchecked, which means they're turned off. Now, you can do this manually if you want to turn the shelves off to give yourself more space, and then just always go back and turn that back on, and it'll bring it back. But if you've pulled it off, that time slider is just going to show back up here on top, and so is the range slider. So you just take these and sort of drag them back over until that line highlights, and then you can put them back together, and you can also, kind of change the window shapes a little bit here as well. In fact, I'm going to see if I can pull that back there like this. All right, so that's the user interface elements menu. It's under Windows, and it's a really good one to remember where it is. Now, the next thing I'll talk about is the preferences. Now, there are tons of preferences, and you can access them by hitting this little man with the gear here. And you can see there are so many different things that you can change. For the most part, I don't change a ton. There are two exceptions to that, and that is the time slider and the undo. Now, right now, by default, the time slider is set to play every frame. This means that the playback speed, if I hit this play button, you can see how quickly that is moving across. That is because the computer is going to play the animation as fast as it can based on its memory. So when there's not much in the animation, it's going to play faster. The more keys, the more memory, and you work on your file, the slower it's going to play, and that we actually don't want. Maximum playback speed is free. So we want to change these two to 24 frames per second times 1 and 24 frames per second times 1. So then I'm going to hit save. Now if I hit save right now, it's going to kill the window, and I want to do one more thing. And that is to go to the undo, and it is set at infinite. Now sometimes by default it was set at finite. You want to make sure that it's set at infinite like this. And then I'm going to hit save, and this is going to save my preferences. So they'll be there when I open up Maya the next time. Now, sometimes you can also go up to, they used to have a save preferences right here under file. So sometimes I'll go and hit that just to make sure that those are saved. The other thing I want to tell you about is this outliner. Now, I drug this from one side to the other. What the outliner is just a list of everything that is created in the file. These grayed out cameras are my perspective camera, my top camera, front, side, etc. And just by clicking on this list, I can select whatever's in my file. So if I want to grab this sphere, but I don't want to click on the sphere itself, I can just click this. Or if I want to click on the plane down here, I can click on that, or the cylinder like this. So it's just a handy tool to be able to have there on the side. If you are trying to find something, you can't quite find it, you can always look in that list and find it. Now, over here is the menu set. Now, sometimes this will be set to modeling or rigging. We're going to set it to animation for obvious reasons. And a lot of these menus that we can use and are going to be most helpful for us are going to be in that animation menu set. So make sure you change that to animation, and then you can pretty much, again, you might want to hit save preferences, but then you can leave it alone. And then the last thing I'll talk about before we get started animating will be the help menu. If you go to the help menu, there's a lot of different things you can search the help menu for an idea. You can open up the Maya documentation, and there's a lot of documentation. If you just want to learn about skeletons and what they are, if you have a question, this is a really great resource to be able to go through and see, okay, component mode, soft selection mode. These are a lot of different things that you'll probably pick up on as you work in Maya. The other thing you can do in the help menu is you can access the YouTube Learning channel. And this will bring up the Autodesk Maya Learning channel. And there's a ton of resources here that you can go through. Now, generally, what I try to tell students to stick with is anything that is going to be sort of basics and animation. Now, that being said, if you are like, lighting or color and shading, and I really want to learn modeling, there's all sorts of different things you can learn here. But what we're going to be covering in class is specifically going to be in the world of animation. So animation basics, this is a good place to get going. It's going to be similar. You don't need to watch these, but if you want more resources, then the YouTube channel is a good place to go. All right, so now we are ready to get started. doing your bouncing ball assignment. And we're going to do a very simple version of this today. You can be as creative as you want. You don't need to do only this or do less than this. But we're just going to do a simple version of the bouncing ball assignment. Now, I'm scrolling out here to kind of give an overall sense of the environment or the set. So I'm going to make this plane a bit bigger by scaling it. If I grab this sort of yellow cube, it'll scale all of these at once. And you can see as I move this in the channel box over here, that those values are changing. And the same thing happens when I rotate or move something. And what those values are is this is math. This is the X, Y, and Z origin. You can see over here in the display the X, Y, and Z axis. So if I scroll like this, let's do this like here, then the origin is 0, 0. And if I wanted to put my my object back to the origin, I could just grab all of these, hit 0, and it would take me right there. And what this is translate Y is up and down, translate or move X is side to side, and Z is front to back. So what this is saying is that this is 3.085 units to the right. It's 8.042 units up, and it's 5.145 units forward towards me. And that's how the computer keeps track of all of these different positions. Now, this grid is useful to know, but it's not necessarily always useful to have displayed. So if I want to turn it off, I can go to Show, I can go to Viewport, and I can go all the way down here to Grid, and I can uncheck that, and that will turn that off. So I can do that with a lot of different things. You can see there's a lot of different things that are available, but the only thing that I'm really looking at is polygons. And so I might just want to check None here and go to Show, Viewport, and pick Polygons. And then that will be all that I see. Now, another nice little tip on the viewport, you can see how things are sort of jagged around the edges. If I go to this little button right here, I can hit anti-alias, and that is going to smooth out the edges a bit, which will make things a little bit nicer. And so now I'm ready to sort of create some obstacles, and I've already got one here. And let's move my bouncing ball over here. And let's do, I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate this object. Maybe scale this up a bit here. I'm going to create maybe a kind of donut here, and or a torus, and kind of put this in the middle. Now, if I want to make this a little bit, easier to, kind of an opening that I could have it bounce through, I can click this over here in the channel box, and I can begin to use my middle mouse button and hold it down and scroll back and forth to create a wider opening to make this a little bit easier to move through that. I could also, if I wanted to, scale these individually and make these just a little bit easier to hit. And let's kind of line these these things up the way that I want. And maybe I create a wall over here by creating a cube and kind of scaling this out. Like this. And let's see how this works. And maybe I'm going to line this up so it doesn't move in a completely, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep this in a straight line for now. And maybe I'll just have it kind of bounce over this wall for the time being. Okay, but you can see everything's kind of gray. Make that ball a little bigger. And I want to have things show up a little bit more clearly. Now, I'm not going to get too much into materials and rendering and shading. We do a little bit more of that in level 2, but I'm going to give you a quick, easy way to change some colors. So if you click on an object and you right-click on it, you see this big long menu, and if you go down here to assign new material, you can go to a Maya or an Arnold. Those are probably your two best bets. To stay kind of simple, I'm just going to do a Maya Lambert. Now, when it opens up like this, it looks like it's exactly the same because it is a new material, but it is the same color. So if I want to create a different color, what I'm going to do is go to Windows, Rendering Editors, and the Hypershade. Now this is a very sort of threatening interface here. It seems like there are a ton of different sort of options here. And I've created this new Lambert. If I wanted to do this again, I can do Assign New Material, go to Arnold, and go to Standard Surface here. And you'll see that there is a new surface matte or surface shader material on this. Now, if I then go and I want to change this material, I can double click on this, this is where having a lot of space in your computer is helpful. I'm going to go to the attribute editor, and I'm going to go to the standard surface right here. If I go to this base color and click on this, and I click red, I can create a red object. Now, I can do this with a number of different types of objects. I'm going to do say sort of a blend here, which is going to make it just a little bit more shiny. Now, these old Maya surfaces kind of have some artifacts to them, which is unfortunate. So sometimes it is a little bit safer to stay with an Arnold and go to either a Lambert or a standard surface. If I go to a Lambert here, I can go over to this Arnold Lambert, and I can change this. Sometimes you kind of have to play around with this. If I go back to the Hypershade and go to this Lambert, if I'm not sure which surface material it is, I can always go to Edit and say Select Materials from Objects. And so this is the one here that I see. I go over here, and it doesn't look like this Lambert works terribly well. And so in that sense, usually an Arnold surface shader I go assign new material, Arnold surface shader is going to give me the most predictable results by going to this base color and saying, okay, I want this there. And that's probably the easiest thing to do. Now, I can create new materials, or I can use the materials that are already created. Now, it gets a little tricky because I'm clicking on these surface materials wondering, which one it is. But you can see here, well, this one looks like it is a red material. So if I middle mouse, copy and paste, or just drag this over, I can create, I can use that material on multiple objects, and this will allow me to be able to see a number of different surfaces. And I'm just going to do assign new material. Let's do a standard surface, and now it's a little bit easier and clearer to see everything. Okay, so now let's get started animating. We are ready to go with actually doing the animation. Now, the first thing we want to do is kind of adjust our timeline and get this to a place where it makes sense. Remember, frames equal time, so 24 frames is going to equal 1 second. So if I want something that's going to last about 4 seconds, that's going to be about 100 frames. But if I have 2,000 frames, then that's going to be a long piece of animation. Now, I can always adjust this as we go, but it's useful. I'm going to do just kind of make it so it's easy to navigate these frames. And I'm going to start on frame 101, which is perfectly fine. I'm going to select the ball and then use my sort of toggle skills here to put myself in the right spot. And then I'm going to hit the S key. Now, when I hit the S key, you can see a couple of things happen. You can see that the red line shows up on the timeline, and these red boxes show up in the channel box. Now, when I switch frames, you can see that this turns to a lighter sort of pink. Now, what that means is that there is a key on the object, but there is not a key on this frame. Now, I'm going to move this, go to the next frame that I want to move this on and kind of put this in the right spot. But you can see that there's still not red. I have not set a key. I have just moved the object. And if I switch frames, then I lose everything I just did because I did not set a key and create a new keyframe. So I hit S, and now everything's red again. I go in the between here, and you see that the computer is filling in the frames in between my keys, and I can keep moving, kind of pushing things around here. I can move and look from a different angle. And again, I have to remember to hit S. Now, there is a bit of a workaround to this, and that is what's called auto key, and that is this little button right here next to the preferences button. And if I click on that, it'll turn red. And now when I go to a new frame, if I move this, it automatically sets a key, but it's only going to set a key on the channel, the individual channel that I have moved. Now, for a bouncing ball, that's not that big of a deal, but it bothers me. And it sometimes creates some problems. So I usually do a combination of both. I usually keep auto key on, and I usually hit the S key to make sure that there's a key on every frame. Now, sometimes, though, I will get a little bit messy and things will be kind of all over the place. And I'll be like, whoa, what's going on? My animation's kind of going wacky. And I want to clean this up. So I can do this by right-clicking on the key in the timeline. So if I'm on a frame with a key and I right click, I can go up to delete and it will delete that key. And now you can see that it is still sort of moving in a sort of odd fashion. Go and delete these keys here. I can also delete multiple keys by holding the shift key down. I'm going to hit undo here and bring some of these keys back. I'm going to delete all of these keys by holding shift and using my middle mouse button to select a chunk of frames. Now, I can do a lot of things with this. I can actually move this entire chunk of frames by using my left mouse button and clicking and drag. So I use the shift middle mouse to select them all and my left mouse to move them. Or I can right click and I can delete the whole thing like this. So that's really helpful when you're making different adjustments to the animation. Now I'm just going to finish off here the animation that I have and kind of just very quickly put together this animation. Now, if I want to, I can just kind of scrub through this by using my left mouse button, and I can see the animation, but this doesn't really give me a sense of the speed. Or I can hit the play button, and you can see that I have my animation. But it doesn't really look like a bouncing ball. It just looks like a ball sort of floating around, and I want to make some adjustments to this movement. Now, one of the most powerful tools to adjust is a tool we call the graph editor. Now, the graph editor is accessible through a couple of different places. You can go to Windows, go to Animation Editors, and grab the graph editor, and it can be in a separate window like this. Or if I hit my space bar, I don't really use the orthographic panels too much. So I'm going to go to Panels and go to Panel and pick the graph editor here. Now, what I can't do is I can't have both. I can't have the graph editor in a panel and open in a window. It'll only let me open it one place. And I can do a lot of different things here. Each of these graphs, or splines as they're called, I can left click and drag and select them. I can select an individual key. I can use the shift button and my middle mouse button and move this key, and it will move the actual ball. It's also changing the different values in the channel box. And this is a way I can sort of smooth out my movements. I'm going to just smooth out the translate X, which is, you can see the arrow here. So the translate X is just my movement forward. I can also grab these handles and use my middle mouse button. So I select them with the left key and left mouse button, and I move them with the middle mouse button, which takes some getting used to. But I'm going to just try to line those up a little bit nicer like this, and I'm going to get a little bit smoother forward motion. Now, the next thing I want to do is adjust my up and down motion. And I'm going to start off just by grabbing these and sort of moving them into, so I get a nice sort of pattern. But I sort of get this spline movement here, and I want the to be a little sharper, to bounce off the ground. Now, I can control these handles in a lot of different ways. I can use these different buttons, and you can see that this is going to make a lot of different options for my handles. I'm going to use this linear tangent, which is going to mean that the handle is going to point directly at the next key. So I'm going to grab all of these and hit linear. And if I wanted to, I could move this, but it creates some sort of weirdness in my spline. And I want this to sort of be a little bit sharper, so I can grab all of these bottom keys here and hit this button here, which will break the tangents and allow me to use them individually. And now I'm going to create this little pattern, which sort of looks like a pattern of a bouncing ball. And now as I scrub through this, you can see that it's sort of bouncing in a much more natural way. If I hit play, then it is going to, here, let me shorten this just a bit. And sometimes this works. There we go. Now I'm going to use my space bar and activate this window. And now I have a bit of animation here. Now, this allows me to sort of play around with things. I can do individual keys. So if I go back here, I can do globally by grabbing the entire curve. I'm going to hold the shift button down, middle mouse button, and not only am I moving that particular key, but I could move this whole thing in this direction, and now it is bouncing over here. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to hit the undo button. I can just hit Z. I don't need to hit Control Z. I can just hit the Z key as many times as I want, and it will give me an undo. And if I go too far, I can hit Shift Z and get to the place that I want. Now, I'm going to show a common problem that sometimes shows up and show kind of how to fix that. If I go back to the settings here, and this is why we changed these to 24 frames per second. If I go back to play every frame and then I put this at free and I hit save, now when I press play, you can see, my goodness, something strange is going on. It is not working. What it is basically doing is playing it as fast as it's capable of playing, which is playing it over and over as fast as it can, which is why it's so fast we can't even really see the animation, which is another really good reason why we want to make sure that this is always set to 24 frames per second on both of these and hit save, at which point that play button will now work effectively. Now, if I was doing this as an assignment, I would say this is a great start, but I'd want to kind of keep putting some more into this. Probably 3 or 4 seconds is a pretty good target to aim for. There's a couple of things I can do to maybe kind of clean this up. You can see this is sort of jagged edge here. If I hit the 3 key, it will smooth that out, and I can do that here. Now this doesn't always work. If I have a wall like this and I hit 3, you'll see it's not really the best. If I want to go back, all I do is I hit the 1 key. Now if I hit the 2 key, this will show you what's going on. It is smoothing it out, and it's trying to smooth this out, and it's going to show both. So, but the 1 will show the sort of the rigid version, and 3 will show a smoother version. So I can do kind of pick and choose what makes the most sense. And now I'm ready to turn in my work. So the first thing I'm going to do is save my animation. Now, you're going to turn in a video, but creating a video does not save your animation. It only creates a video. So if you create a video and you don't save, then you can't reopen your file and make adjustments. So you save in Maya just like any other program: File, Save Scene, or Save Scene As. So if I go here, I can find, just say bouncing ball. what I like to do is do what we call versioning up. You can type out the word version, or you can just type in the word version or V and hit 2. Now, when I save that, what that does is creates a whole new file that allows me to then kind of mark where I'm at. And if my file goes corrupt, I can always go to the previous version. So if I make some adjustments, I can go to Save Scene As and go to Save Version 3. Now, Maya saves in 2 file types, Maya ASCII or Maya binary. It doesn't really matter what version you use, but if you're going to use one, then stick with it, because sometimes you'll be working along and you might see an error that says unknown nodes are found, can't save the file. And people get a little worried, obviously. Usually what that means is you started off as a .mb file or a Maya binary, and you're trying to save as a Maya ASCII or .ma file. Now, all you need to do is just change this to what it was originally, and then hit save again, and then it should save just fine. So now I can close this out, and I can open a new scene. You can see it's right there. And I still have all of the animation and everything I've put together for this. So, so you want to make sure you save first. So once you have saved, now you're ready to create a video. So you might want to kind of play around with different camera angles and see kind of a different camera angle that you're wanting to work from. Now, then you're going to right-click on anywhere on the timeline and go to Play Blast and open up that option box. Now, there's a number of different things you'll want to kind of adjust here. I usually put the quality to 100. The QT stands for QuickTime. If you don't have QuickTime installed on your computer, you can install QuickTime, download and install QuickTime, and it'll show up here. Then there's AVI and an image sequence. Usually QuickTime or AVI is going to work best for our purposes. I'm going to pick a QuickTime there and go to the encoding and go to H.264. Now, a lot of times when I do a QuickTime Play Blast in Maya, QuickTime kind of is funky when it opens. Usually the file's fine and you can upload it. So if that happens, you can, which it probably will probably do some troubleshooting and maybe try an AVI. Now, I like to render off screen because then if my mouse is here, it doesn't show up. I want the scale to be at 1, and I want to save to file. This actually creates a video that's saved on my computer instead of a temporary video that just sort of gets in a temp file that I don't access. So I'm going to hit Browse and kind of navigate to where I want to put this. In this case, I'm going to put it in my assignment videos, Maya Bouncing Ball 2025, and I'll just give it a name. I usually try to keep the version number of the video and the version number of my file the same, so I know which file is with which animation. And hit save, and it doesn't. When I hit save, it just kind of puts that name in there. But the last thing I want to do is I want to look at the display size. Now, if I save from window, it's going to make this window the shape that it is currently. If I was in a smaller window, it would just make a smaller file. That's a little bit hard to manage. So I want to actually pick from render settings. And then I'm going to go up to my render settings, which is right here, this little clapboard and gear. I'm going to scroll down just a bit. And you can see here that I have some different presets for my image size. Now, I would not go higher than HD 1080. HD 720 is perfectly fine. 1280 by 720, but if you want to do a full HD, you can. So then I'm going to hit close, and I'm going to, again, save my preferences, and then I'm going to hit Play Blast. Now, you can see the grid's back on here. If I want to take that grid off, I'll need to go back through here and uncheck that. And once I hit Play Blast, you can see that the timeline, it goes through these frames. And you can see here that, again, QuickTime doesn't want to kind of show up. Now, sometimes, like I said, many times when I upload this to Google Drive, it'll work just fine. But if that bothers you, you can go back to the option box, and we can go to AVI. You can leave it at none, which is going to make a huge file size, but it's usually the safest. And then hit Play Blast, and here you can see that I have a video of my animation. And this video is what you're going to turn in. Now, many times I'll hear students say, I saved my animation as a video and I can't reopen it in Maya, and that's true. I cannot open this video in Maya, even though it's nice CG imagery. It won't reopen in Maya. Only a Maya binary or a Maya ASCII file will open in Maya. So you have to save that first, then create that video. All right, and now I am ready to turn in my animation into Google Drive. Now, I'm going to go back to Canvas, and let's go back to Canvas here, and scroll down to Bouncing Ball Part 1 Assignment, and look down here at the bottom where it says upload their animation as a video file to their student folder labeled Week 2 Bouncing Ball Part 1. And click on that, which will take me to Google Drive. Now, I have my student folder here, and it's going to take me to the Bouncing Ball Part 1. I'm going to navigate there. You can see I have a hand-drawn animation video there. But I've got this big wide open space, and I've got this review folder. Now, a lot of times students want to turn it into that review folder. Please don't. That's where the grader is going to put their video review. And we want you to put your animation right here. So you can do this a couple of different ways. You can go to New and File Upload. You can navigate to the video or to the file that way. Or you can just click and drag this over. So if I open a window, and here you can see I have the window where I've created both the QuickTime and the AVI. You can see how much bigger the AVI file is. Now, if I right-click on this and I open this with Movies and TV, this is the QuickTime file I play blasted. You can see it's there and it's working fine. So generally, a lot of times you can just turn that one in. But even this big one should be fine. I can just click and drag it right over the white space, and it will upload this. Now, depending on your internet speed, that may be a problem to have such a large file uploading. You can see it's taking a little bit of time here to upload this large file. So you can upload that QuickTime file and make one of each and just maybe upload the QuickTime version. But it will, as we watch the upload happen, you will soon see that it has uploaded to the Google Drive folder here. It's almost there. And there it shows up right there. Now, you don't have to do anything else. You can email your grader if you want, but they'll look for it right here. Now, a lot of times people say, okay, I want to check. If it's there, oh no, it didn't work. this is actually pretty normal. This is going to take somewhere between 5 to 20 minutes to process before it will be playable on the browser. But you can see this one was uploaded quite a while ago. And it will play on the browser like this. So if it doesn't play right away, that's very normal, and that's not anything to be concerned about. So now you are ready to go, and you've done your first part, and you're going to be getting feedback very soon. So great job, and good luck with next week's assignment.